Hey everybody, welcome back to What the Happened, and oh boy do I have a story for you today. We're about to dive into one of the most bone-chilling chapters of American history, the Donner Party. Strap in, because this journey is going to take us through snow-capped mountains, desperate decisions, and the very limits of human endurance. Are you ready? Let's do this. Alright, let's set the scene. It's 1846, and a group of pioneers decides to pack up their lives and head west to California. They're dreaming of sunshine, fertile land, and new opportunities. But little do they know, they're about to embark on a journey that'll go down in history for all the wrong reasons. Now these folks weren't just any random group. We're talking about the Donner Party. 87 men, women, and children who thought they were on their way to a better life. So, our intrepid pioneers are making their way across the country and things are already not great. They're behind schedule, supplies are running low, and tensions are high, but then, boom! Mother Nature decides to throw them a curveball in the form of an early winter storm. And we're not talking about a little dusting of snow here, we're talking about a full-on, where-did-the-road-go kind of blizzard. The Donner Party finds themselves trapped in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Now, if you've never been to the Sierra Nevada, let me paint you a picture. Okay folks, this is where things start to get really intense. The Donner Party is trapped, food is scarce, and they're facing a winter that seems endless. They start building makeshift cabins, but let's be real. These aren't exactly five-star accommodations. We're talking about crude shelters that barely keep out the wind and snow. As the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, their situation becomes increasingly desperate. Food supplies dwindle to nothing. Now you might be thinking, surely someone tried to help these poor folks, right? And you'd be right. Several rescue attempts were launched. But man, talk about facing impossible odds. These brave rescuers had to battle the same brutal conditions that had trapped the Donner Party in the first place. The first relief party reached the survivors in February 1847, nearly 4 months after they became stranded. Can you imagine that? 4 months of cold, hunger, and desperation. But here's the kicker. Not everyone could be rescued at once. Some had to stay behind, waiting and hoping for the next group of rescuers to arrive. Now let's talk about the survivors. These people went through hell and back, and their stories are both heartbreaking and inspiring. Take the Breen family, for instance. All 7 members of their family survived. How crazy is that? In the middle of all this tragedy, an entire family makes it out alive. But for every story of survival, there are stories of loss. Of the 87 members of the Donner Party, only 48 survived. That's less than half. And many of those survivors were children. Can you imagine being a kid and going through something like that? It's the kind of experience that stays with you for life. Alright, history buffs, this is where things get really interesting. In recent years, archaeologists have been digging into the Donner Party story, literally. They've been excavating the sites where the party camped, and boy have they found some fascinating stuff. These discoveries are helping us separate fact from fiction. For example, they've found no clear evidence of cannibalism at the Alder Creek camp, which challenges some of the more sensationalized accounts of the tragedy. It just goes to show that even after all these years, we're still learning new things about this infamous event. Now let's talk about the unsung heroes of this story, the women of the Donner Party. These ladies were absolute badasses. They kept families together, cared for the sick and injured, and in many cases outlived the men. Take Margaret Reed, for example. Her husband was banished from the party early on, but she managed to keep her entire family alive through the ordeal. Or consider Tamsin Donner, who chose to stay behind with her dying husband even when rescue came, knowing it meant certain death for her. The strength and sacrifice of these women is it's mind-blowing, honestly. When you're facing a life-or-death situation like the Donner Party, leadership becomes crucial. And let me tell you, the decisions made by the party's leaders had huge consequences. James F. Reed, one of the organizers, was actually forced out of the group after a dispute. Can you imagine being kicked out of your own party in the middle of nowhere? Then there's the decision to take the Hastings cutoff, that infamous shortcut I mentioned earlier. It was sold to them as a time saver, but it ended up costing them precious weeks. It's a stark reminder of how one bad decision can snowball into a catastrophe. So what can we learn from this tragic chapter in American history? Well, for one, it shows us the incredible resilience of the human spirit. These people faced unimaginable hardships, and yet many of them survived. It's a testament to what we're capable of when pushed to the absolute limit. But it's also a cautionary tale about the dangers of poor planning and the harsh realities of nature. The Donner Party story reminds us that even today, with all our technology and knowledge, we still need to respect the power of the natural world. And there you have it, folks. The chilling, tragic, yet oddly inspiring story of the Donner Party. It's a tale that's been told and retold for over 150 years, but it never loses its power to shock and move us. As we go about our comfortable modern lives, let's take a moment to remember those brave pioneers and the sacrifices they made. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, stay warm and stay safe.